We're back. We're here with Rob Parsons. He's part of the Primrose School of Chelmsford. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. You've built a gorgeous facility over on the corner of Parkhurst Road and North Road, and really made a very nice entrance to Chelmsford coming off the rotary there. So we welcome you here.
Thank you again.
Wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit about your background and how you came to bringing the Primrose School here to Chelmsford.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me and the kind comments. I really feel the school is beautiful myself. But then again, I built it. So, but it was. I couldn't have imagined it coming out the way it did, and I'm so pleased with it. Very happy with Primrose and the church, the town, everything kind of worked together. It seems like it's been taking forever, but it actually came together quite quickly after we just closed in March. We started construction in April, and here we are. We're ready to open. We're open. So
I was actually I was just very impressed with, because I drive my folks live on Parkhurst Road. They're maybe 2-3 doors down on the left. So
your mom came into our open house
always visiting them. So looking at the school and just the coordination of all of these contractors coming together, the framers, the electricians, the plumbers, it's like every day it seemed like almost like a swarm of bees, hitting this thing in a coordinated effort, which I don't see that often, which seemed just really impressive, to be honest.
It was pretty amazing to pull in every day and see the amount of trucks, and people commented on it all the time. They're like, do you have every contractor in Massachusetts working on this project? The truth is, North Point Construction from Hudson, New Hampshire, they did an unbelievable job coordinating this. There was zero drama on the construction site, which is almost never. My background is development, real estate development, commercial, and this was just a pain-free process with them, and it was unlike no other. So it was my hat's off to them and the contractors, the subcontractors that they got. Everybody seemed to work in coordination. There were over 100 trucks there at one point or another for what seemed like a long period of time.
Wow!
But everybody was doing their own thing. But now it's done, and it came out. I'm still shocked when I walk in the building every day. But now we're open. We finally got licensed, and we're open. It's a long process, and it doesn't begin till you get your certificate of occupancy, which is unlike a lot of other businesses. You open, you finish, you open, you're ready for business. But here, the licensing begins when you finish.
Oh, wow.
So that's why it seems like it's been, the process feels like it's dragged on a little bit, but that's because it really doesn't start till you actually are completely ready to go. And then you can start the process. But we got through the licensing, and we're opening. And January 2nd, we'll start to have some classes fill up, and now it gets exciting.
Now, how does that work? I assume you're not going to fill up the school overnight, but obviously you're going to have to grow and expand as you bring on more kids. Are you going to be looking to hire teachers and aides and things of that nature?
Absolutely. So we have, first of all, I have a very experienced director, executive director, and assistant director. So Ann O'Brien, who's a Chelmsford native, actually, is our executive director, and Alice Smith is our assistant director. And between them, they have. They don't like me saying how many years of experience they have collectively, but they've been in childcare for their entire career. And I'm very fortunate to have them on board. They're attracting, I always say there's a flight to quality, and quality begets quality. So they're just, quality directors, and they're bringing with them teachers that are just incredible. We had a parent that came in of an infant and came in, and she was brought to tears when she saw the infant teacher, who happens, my son's 1 year old too, so he's in the class as well, and just saw the interaction, and that just made my month. I think about it all the time. That's what it was done for. This came about, I'm a commercial developer. I developed restaurants. I also owned the Popeyes in Chelmsford and developed it. Spoke to your father about it some 4 years ago, and then sold them and said, what am I going to do now? And that's how the Primrose, well, not how the Primrose came out, but I have a 6-year-old. When I was looking around for school choices for her, just for socialization, for childcare, and when she was around 3, I didn't see anything that really met with my expectations of what it could be. And that's what started the process. finding this site and finding out that it was basically such a great corner, and it spoke to me and said, this is where your school's going to be. And and here it is now. But she's unfortunately now 6, so she's at PMA, which is an awesome school. Very, very pleased with that presentation of Mary. But my son's 1, and he's now in his infant room, and he couldn't be happier. And for me, to go to work with my son every day at this, it's just a dream come true.
That is unbelievable. So is the Primrose School the first of schools, or is it part of a bigger network? Or?
Yeah, Primrose is it's a national. When I first got the site, I looked at it and was, to open a school from scratch on your own would be nearly impossible. It isn't impossible, but of this magnitude, we have 189 student capacity. To develop the curriculum. So when I looked at all the different, I hate to use the word franchise models when it comes to this, because usually people think of my former life and Popeyes or Burger Kings and all the things of that nature. But Primrose is a franchise, but what it does is derives the benefit of, I couldn't get the leading minds in education develop our curriculum for one off school. But when you have 380 schools, you can bring a think tank of really trained professionals that develop the core curriculum. And the core curriculum at Primrose is what drew me to the Primrose concept versus another school system that's out there. Primrose has they develop their curriculum around what's called purposeful play. So the children are actually, they're going through the curriculum basically is, learning becomes the byproduct and fun is what they're doing. So they're having fun playing, but then the byproduct of what they're doing is learning. So at the end of it, they're not even realizing that they're learning something. They may be learning Spanish, or they may be learning something to do with science, or it's just amazing how the curriculum comes. And it's iPad driven, so the teachers, they basically have it every Monday. They can go through and they know what their curriculum is going to be for the week, and they kind of go shopping in the resource room and get all the materials that they're going to need. And then they get to go through and actually work with the children, and it's just such a neat program because it really does develop the children without forgetting that they're children. They're not being just babysat. They're being taught and developed as people, but they're still having fun. So you walk by. When I was looking at this, I looked at a bunch of different schools all over the country. I interviewed 10 different franchisees to make sure that this is something I wanted to go down the road with. And walking by the classrooms and seeing the children just have fun, it was, I said, this is what's missing, and here we are.
I have 4 children under the age of 7. I have twins that are 2.5 now, but I was on a show one time as a proponent to full-day kindergarten because I think it's important that kids are getting educated earlier in life just because of the competitiveness. And someone once said to me, well, why do you have to put your kid in school so early? And so my kids started at 3 months in infant rooms and things of that nature. They said, well, what do they even do? I mean, they're just basically, it's glorified babysitting. But if you look at some of these programs, and I'm sure yours is advanced in this, they're talking about, even at an infant level, working with fine motor skills, all sorts of little things, whether it's just taking little puzzle pieces and sticking it into, there's things that you can do to help develop a child at such an early age. And it's really, I think, an important piece of, trying to help develop them early so they can be successful later on when they actually do hit a public school or maybe even a private continuing program.
Yeah, it's incredibly true because they're life skills alone, and even interacting with other children, that is not something that you can garner being at home. It's great if you're an at-home parent and you're raising your child, but there's also a social interaction that children like to be around other children and to see them. Primrose has a belief that who children become is important as what they know. And it's an interesting statement because it's very true to me in watching how my child interacts with other children, and it starts at a very early age. So to be able to have that interaction in a not so much a controlled environment, but it clearly is. It's a school. It's neat to watch them grow, and it's something that my son, even at 1, to watch him interact with other children, he's growing, and it's not something you can give to him one-on-one as a parent.
Well, sometimes you don't even know what you need to do as a parent. I mean, I hate to say this, but even there's been times where my kids have come home and they're like, "Oh, I know all the seasons," or I know, and I'm like, "Wait, I was supposed to teach you seasons, right?" Like, like there's things that like you just think about it like, "Oh, you should know that," but you're not necessarily thinking to teach your child that. Whereas, when somebody has like a curriculum where you have this, on-demand curriculum where they're looking at and they say this is what they should be learning this week, those as a parent may just be things that you're not thinking about, that your child comes home and now knows, in and out, that makes a huge difference from a learning perspective.
You're right there too. We actually send information home with the parents, so with the children, for the parents to read, so they know where their children, your child learned this week. Your child is learning sign language. So even in an infant, that when they do a sign language, the parent may not even know it themselves. But now they say, this is what your child knows now, so you can be aware and look for certain elements and keep up with it at home. But it's not overly challenging to the child. It's not like it's overly burdensome. They're children, but it's just creating well-rounded people.
Yeah, I just think, and I live the everyday life of sometimes as parents you just get burnt out. You've worked all day. You're just like, you're trying to throw supper on the table, and then it's like, how can I bathe them and get them to bed? Because I'm just burnt out from the day. But that's not helping like foster their learning and creating fun and meaningful things within their day, right? So, a center like this where people come in, this is their job, and they're excited about what they're doing, they want to help further things. This is a great opportunity for kids. I don't see it. If you go back 30 years ago, yeah, it may have been just like throw them all into a room and, it's glorified babysitting. I think what you're doing is innovative. It really gives kids an advantage and probably gives them a better quality of life, to be honest with you, than just sitting at home.
It's very true. The world is, it's a global marketplace now. I mean, where there aren't borders. So we need our children, not that they need to come out as robots, but, development starts at birth at this point, and not just from a drill sergeant perspective. I mean, this is just life, and this gives them. It's funny because New England is a really educationally based region. We have some of the finest facilities. People come from all over the globe, but in the childcare segment, it was a little bit behind, and we have a lot of dual household. A lot of people that are doing, both parents are working, and there's a need for not just a babysitting role, but an intellectual or kind of a school-based, structured type of environment that can still be fun. So we're hoping to fill that need. I love Chelmsford. I keep getting drawn back here. I was actually born in Lowell. We lived in Chelmsford, and I moved to Nashua when I was in third grade. But I keep getting brought back to Chelmsford. I got brought back for the restaurant and now this, and this is by far my favorite project I've ever been involved with. I pull up to the light at Parkhurst and North Road, and I just smile. I can't. I'm so happy with the facility, and I just want everybody to come. I can't wait to share it with everyone that comes through. I want to tour everybody through the school just to see what we're doing. I'm really excited about it, and I hope that Chelmsford accepts us and receives us well.
Well, I'll tell you, from a real estate perspective, the location is ideal. Not just because you have Chelmsford residents, which obviously watch, so we do the whole greater Lowell, but you have a lot of parents that live in Westford that have watched the show, and people going up Route 3, coming down, and it's nice to be able to get off, drop your kid maybe equidistance from where you're working. If you work in Burlington, it's like sometimes, it's good to kind of have a halfway point where you can say, okay, I'll drop them in Chelmsford and then head down to work, and then when I get out, I'll pick them up halfway and then head home. So, it's really easy to kind of just get on and off the rotary there, hit the location, pick up your kids, and be back on the highway without any sort of hitch. I'll tell you, that's a huge component. I've shopped a lot of schools in my lifetime, and that would have made a huge difference for me.
But we're all late in the morning. We start out 5 minutes late. I mean, and then it just gets worse from there, right? So if you're on the route, and normally every road has an AM and PM defined road, even Drum Hill, the Dunkin' Donuts would, it's everybody's going to the other direction. It's an AM product, but it's, one would say it's on the PM side of the road, but it's it's not hurting that Dunkin' Donuts at all. I mean, that Drum Hill as well as our Route 4 corridor, there's no real defined AM, PM. There's people going both directions at either time. Route 4 is a major cut through for Route 495 to Route 3. And we're right in the thick of it with the only lighted corner right there. It makes it quite easy. But yet when you're in the school, it's like a little enclave. You don't hear any traffic noise, and the play courts in the back are just secluded. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. You've got major access, but it's got its own little solace once you're in the facility. And but you're right, Westford, Parkhurst Road is a major cut through to get to the Rourke Bridge as well. So anybody working at the hospital, University of Lowell, or University of Mass, that's just showing my age there. I'm a graduate of University of Lowell. So, but yes, UMass or the hospitals, that's the access road. So.
Well, I will tell you, I hear, and you're a real estate developer, so you hear this all the time. People always complain about traffic. But the reality is, I would rather have the traffic that is produced from a school like this than the true traffic problem, which is like people cutting all the way from like Lexington trying to get up to Nashua, or people from Nashua trying to cut down to, get to Lexington. And so we have a lot of this cross traffic that really isn't doing business in Chelmsford. People that creating traffic here are actually coming and doing business here, keeping business local. I think there's a huge business development piece there, and I think people should really appreciate that. And there's always a little bit of a growing pain whenever somebody comes into a spot, just to kind of get things up and running. But to be honest with you, I think it's worth the small probably disadvantage that it creates.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, we're really tapping into it's Chelmsford residents that's our market. That's what we looked at first. The demographic studies that came up. I mean, Chelmsford's our market. So we're not creating more traffic. We're tapping into a market that's here. But I'll tell you. Right away if people are going to accept your project because they're not shy about it. I mean, your mom came in and said, we were watching, make sure this came out all right. We're getting a lot of positives. I mean, people just coming in and just to tour the facility without children, which is a great compliment because they just want to see what it's all about, and that nothing makes me happier.
Well, if you get the Donna Reddy stamp of approval, that's pretty good because she was a very well-loved kindergarten teacher for many, many years, and she's been in and
even as a neighbor, she lives very close.
Yeah,
so she's
elementary education, and she's been super excited about it, and she wishes you guys the best. She really does. She's been nothing but an advocate for that school, and
she was. Everybody was a little leery about what's going to happen to that corner, and I hope that we fulfilled our end of the bargain. So far, the comments have been very positive, and we've been incredibly well received from Mr. Cohen to the board. They did their job on the front end, but we've had nothing but smooth sailing since then. People have really been welcoming. I love Chelmsford. It's a community that's really welcoming, and people paying attention to what's going on, and that's the hallmark of a community.
All right, this is the most important part. People that are interested in enrolling their children in school, what is the best way of doing that?
Well, we're internet-based now, right? So www.primrosechelmsford.com is our website, and that's the best way to research it electronically. But by all means, come in. Come into the school and meet Ann. I'm there almost practically living there at this point, and meet Alice and Ann, and most importantly, the teachers, and just take a tour of the facility. That's the best way to do it, and we're always there, and we're welcoming. It's 6:30 to 6:30, Monday through Friday. We're closed on the weekends. And if you come in the next 3 days, we'll wrap your presents for you because we're doing a present wrapping drive. So anybody that wants to come in and have their presents wrapped, I don't know if this airs after Christmas.
No,
sorry about
tonight.
that.
It airs
but if it
tonight,
does,
yeah.
well then we're starting tomorrow from 10 to 2 the next 3 days. So it's a great come on in, take a tour, and have your presents wrapped while you're waiting.
Wow. All the men out there that are just they're going to actually get their shopping done first, though. Yeah. Go buy it tonight and then go tomorrow. That's fantastic. Well, we appreciate it. We wish you the most success in your business venture.
I really thank you.
And we will certainly see you for years to come.
Appreciate it so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob.
Great to see you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.